On April 1st, 1957, the BBC aired a 3-minute segment on its highly respected current affairs program Panorama. This wasn't a comedy show or a late-night gag. It was one of the most trusted news sources in Britain. The segment featured a family in the Swiss region of Ticino, calmly harvesting long strands of spaghetti from the branches of trees. The footage showed women carefully plucking noodles from the limbs and laying them in the sun to dry in woven baskets, as if they were collecting apples or grapes. The narration was delivered by Richard Dimbleby, a legendary broadcaster known for his serious war reporting during World War II. His calm, authoritative voice explained that the spaghetti harvest was especially abundant that year due to a mild winter and the virtual disappearance of the spaghetti weevil, a fictional pest invented just for the segment. The report even included a fabricated explanation for why spaghetti noodles were always the same length. Dimbleby stated that it was the result of years of careful breeding by plant scientists to perfect the ideal spaghetti strand. The segment was filmed partly in Switzerland and partly at a pasta factory in Hertfordshire, England, to make the visuals more convincing. The idea for the hoax came from Panorama cameraman Charles de Jager, who remembered a joke from his school days in Austria. Teachers would tease students by saying they were so gullible they believed spaghetti grew on trees. De Jager pitched the idea to Panorama editor Michael Peacock, who gave him a budget of £100 to make it happen. Dimbleby, fully aware of the prank, agreed to lend his voice to the segment, knowing his reputation would make the story seem even more credible. At the time, spaghetti was not a common food in the UK. Most Britons had only encountered it in canned form, usually swimming in tomato sauce. It was considered an exotic, foreign dish, and very few people had ever seen it being made from scratch. So when the segment aired, it fooled a surprising number of viewers. An estimated 8 million people watched the broadcast, nearly half of all households with a television in Britain at the time. The next day, the BBC's phone lines were overwhelmed. Hundreds of viewers called in, some expressing skepticism, but many genuinely asking how they could grow their own spaghetti trees. One woman reportedly asked if planting a strand of spaghetti in tomato sauce would help it sprout. Another viewer said her husband refused to believe it was a hoax and had gone out to buy a spaghetti bush. The BBC, staying in character, cheekily replied, "Place a sprig of spaghetti in a tin of tomato sauce and hope for the best one." Even some BBC employees were briefly fooled. Sir Ian Jacob, the Director General of the BBC at the time, was so unsure that he consulted 3 different reference books to confirm that spaghetti did not, in fact, grow on trees. The prank was so effective because it played on the public's unfamiliarity with the food and their trust in the BBC's authority. Dimbleby's serious tone, combined with the realistic footage, made the story seem entirely plausible to many viewers. And because it aired on April 1st, some people didn't immediately connect the dots that it might be a joke. No one was harmed by the prank, just a little confused and maybe a bit embarrassed. But the hoax quickly became legendary. It's now considered one of the greatest April Fool's Day pranks ever pulled by a major news organization. CNN later called it the biggest hoax that any reputable news establishment ever pulled. The story is featured in the Museum of Hoaxes, and it's still taught in journalism and media ethics classes as a case study in the power of media credibility and the importance of critical thinking. Subscribe for more.